What's up, guys? Barry Gaming here, back with some more Idle Heroes, and today we are doing the end game tier list. Now, this isn't for like free-to-play players. It might be for like the low spenders, but it's mainly for those mid spenders and higher. We were lucky enough to have Wraec on the stream here to help us out to make sure we understood certain heroes that I haven't used, like Star Alchemist Holmes Young, where they really thrive. And of course, he's done everything in the game as well. So we kind of took my knowledge, his knowledge, chat's knowledge, we shoved it all together. If you haven't followed his channel just yet, take 1 second. I'm going to try to remember to put a link somewhere up on the top here. Go visit Wraec's channel, give him a sub. He is like the biggest whale in Idle Heroes right now, at least one of them, and he has done all the content with just about every type of hero possible. I think he's only not done Shadow Sealand just out of like that game mode sucks. Shadow Sealand, horrible. But go make sure you give him a follow. And again, this tier list is for unlimited sublimation, so we're considering all these heroes being fully sublimed, pretty much a full house on Cloud Island. Cores are plentiful, so if like especially Star Alchemist Holmes Young, you're gonna see him a lot on this list. He is counting that he has a core. So again, very endgame tier list, not for the free-to-play players. Go reference the other video we did on Friday. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so like the last tier list we did, we still broke this down into specific categories. However, we did remove a few of the categories. Like the column you're actually seeing active right now is Purgatory 100 to 200. We're not doing from 1 to 100. We're not doing the lower tier void campaigns, things like that, because we're talking purely endgame progression here. This is the most kitted out heroes, potentially at least one of them, and this is how we rank them. So a lot of people have probably been seeing us having Doom, Terminator, Vulcan at the top of a lot of lists. Purgatory is one of them that he excels in the most. Why? Because the other heroes like Sword Flash and Lord of Fear Aspen that do almost just as good as Vulcan, they have key waves that really stop them, like Amun-Ra's. They have to use mark removal, otherwise they can't do like CC waves like Oberon's, or you know what I mean, the really bad CC waves like Sherlock, Tix, Eos and stuff like that. Those are really difficult, so that's the reason why they drop below Vulcan. Vulcan, his heal's so minor that like it doesn't matter if Amun-Ra puts a curse on him. Probably the easiest 200 run we've done. But Lord of Fear Aspen and Sword Flash Shia, very good at that as well. Fairy Queen Vesta is, you know, a good substitute there. We have Star Swordsman Machman with like an A and B, he can get some stuff done. And then after that, you're really not going to be using these heroes in a lot of these columns here. Anything after like 8 and 9, you can just consider not really wanting to use them, or at least they're not very impactful in the game mode. We're going to mainly focus on the top of each one of these categories, just so you know. Next up, of course, we have Tower of Dreams. Now, Tower of Dreams, Star Swordsman Machman excels even more than Doom, Terminator, Vulcan. But again, you're going to see them at very high ranking in a lot of these game modes where there's multiple targets that they can nuke down in round 1. Tower of Dreams, this is pretty much talking about like levels 13 to 15, very, very difficult ones here. Lord of Aspen's Fear Effect has been amazing. Starwing Jar's CC is awesome. Scarlet Queen Halora, you're going to see very highly ranked on this list compared to other ones because, well, just by putting her in your lineup, that Royal Guard is going to be giving 20 to 24% all damage dealt to your burst heroes, which, again, you should have a Star Swordsman Machman or a Doom Terminator Vulcan fully maxed out on an endgame account like this. Or be like me and do both, and they're both really good. But without Halora, you're not going to have crazy round 1 damage. You do have Fairy Queen Vesta, and this is where you're going to start seeing some game modes where Star Alchemist Holmes Young with his core is ranked much better than you saw on the last tier list. On the last one, he was basically last on everything. This one, he gets bumped up to the mid tier and even like some of the best heroes, best rankings in certain game modes because his core is just bugged and broken AF. Of course, you know, Mystic Fairy Freya and Elena, they're both really good support heroes, giving dodge and other types of capabilities, healing, shields, all that fun stuff. Sword Flash does struggle in this game mode. Asmodel can still do some good AoE damage. Same with Eos with her burn dot as well. Azrael, again, Azrael in the end game, the only perk he has is the fact that he can die feed energy while he's in his ghost form and then revive, but in most game modes that's not very impactful. And then Blood Tide Queen Arania, I mean, she's just the leader for the game. I just honestly rework her. Her kit's just not good at all. Moving over to Seal Land 30, we had a lot of discussion on Seal Land 30 here, but Lord of Fear Aspen takes the cake. Why? Because the top 3 heroes here have gotten a Seal Land 30 done with only a B- type hero copy. And they did it mostly solo. Everything else was just purely support. There were no other damage dealers in the mix. Lord of Fear Aspen, just throw a bunch of carries with him. He crushes it, absolutely crushes it when he has a full household. You guys saw personally on our channel that we personally did it with Vulcan. Fairy Queen Vesta is another one that does it very, very easily. If you do have Giant Killer on any one of these 3, you're going to decimate the enemies. Star Swordsman Mockman falls to number 4 mainly because we haven't really seen a B tier clear. One thing I do want to shout out is Wraec. Has given us a lot of endgame information as well. He is good at it, but not as good as the other ones. Asmodel, again, he can solo carry it, but he does really need that Giant Killer and Sword Flash as well. Afterwards, I mean, Scarlet Queen, she can get Seal Land 30 done by herself with some Ignis supports and stuff. After that, you fall off really, really hard with other heroes. Most, even whales, have not even done Seal Land 30 in Shadow just because it's a big pain in the booty. Next up, we have Realms Gate 121 plus. And the big thing here is we are prioritizing, we're considering all the battles, of course, because they're normal PvP style 6v6 battles. But the puppet boss waves can take some of the most amount of your stamina to clear the bosses. So if your hero does not do good boss damage, aka the one down here, Star Swordsman Mockman, you're going to struggle with your team. I've heard a lot of people like, yeah, I dropped my Sword Flash and my damage plummeted on the bosses and took me forever to clear them and smash them. That's why Lord of Fear Aspen and Fairy Queen Vesta are up the top. They have some of the best single target damage. Doom Terminator Vulcan also does very good single target damage. He, of course, excels when there's multiple targets, but his hits still hit the same pretty much. Scarlet Queen Halor for the 20%. Again, Scarlet Queen Halor is up here a lot for that 20% damage buff. You're going to see her a ton. Sword Flash still doing amazing single target damage. Mystic Fairy Freya adding that poison damage with her sublimation for the Tree Branch number 4. Very good. And then, of course, they do fall down. These heroes here do very well in the 6v6 combats, but struggle in the boss. And then, yeah, there's the bottom of the list. We're not going to talk much about that. Next up is Vortex Dominator. So back in the day, you know, people were clearing it with Sword Flash, but let's be honest, Mockman rules this game mode, Vulcan a very close second, and Starwing Jara CC is absolutely insane. You're definitely going to want the burst combo, so anytime you see Mockman and Vulcan, it doesn't mean you need both. It's like you want one or the other, but what you always want with one of those damage dealers is a Scarlet Queen Halor for the damage bonus. Sword Flash Shia still does amazing in this game mode. Very, very good. Lord of Fear Aspen, awesome CC. Vesa kind of falls off in this game mode where she's not really needed. She does provide some healing, some shielding. Same thing with Star Alchemist Holmes Young. His core pretty much makes him a good support like a Vesa. Same with Mystic Fairy Freya. You guys kind of see a common theme at the bottom of the list when we're talking about the pure endgame. Not saying these heroes can't be used and it can't be done, just that they are not as good at doing it because, of course, rank 1 is the best. Moving on over to campaign 3XX. There's only going to be minor tweaks between 3XX and 4XX in the Void campaign. Mockman and 3XX can still be absolutely amazing because, of course, in 3XX, you can outspeed some enemies, which means you can get an unhindered round 1 active off. Whereas when you do jump over to 4XX, it's near impossible to outspeed the enemy, which is why Vulcan has better survivability. He can do a little bit more. But these 3 heroes are like a must, or rather, these 2 heroes, either one of these 2, and Lord of Fear Aspen are absolutely amazing. The fact that Lord of Fear Aspen's basic just CCs the back line, drains energy, it is so overpoweredly awesome. And if you do have his core, you can get a ton of attack boosted to either one or both of these heroes for burst damage. Again, Scarlet Queen Halora, very important in these burst combinations. Any single one of these game modes where killing the enemies in the first couple rounds are important, you need Scarlet Queen Halora on your account. Star Alchemist Holmes Young comes in huge here with support, though. If you are not able to kill them in round 1, round 2, he's going to keep your team alive with his core. But again, you have to have his core for this tier list to make any sense whatsoever. After that, Vesta is amazing healing, and on top of that, she can't be crit, or at least it's a very low chance to get crit with you and your allies and stuff. Very, very solid. Starwing Jara can still do a decent amount of CC, but she does fall off as she is very squishy, and sometimes you don't even get the chance to CC, as you guys have seen from our own Void campaign. And then below that, again, just all random support heroes. Not going to talk about them much. Really, the only change from 3XX and 4XX is, like we talked about, making Vulcan the better pick overall most of the time, so just be prepared with that. Next up, we're going to be talking about Star Expedition. Now, Star Expedition, I feel like the main reason why we kind of talk about this one is, well, the boss fight. The regular fights throughout the whole game mode doesn't matter. It's all about the boss fights and the right set of runes set up to get you the most damage. And honestly, these are the best two single target boss damage dealers in that game mode. They both have very similar teams that support around them, but Vesa and Aspen are amazing. The Aspen team, technically, I've seen has a higher potential, but Fairy Queen Vesta and Lord of Fear Aspen, either one of them is a really good one to have. Having both of them is even better. And then you'll notice Mystic Fairy Freya is way up here with a rank of the third best one in this list. I mean, that's pretty straightforward because her poison stacking with her sublimation number 4, oh, it's so nasty, giving other targets or other allies on your team bonus damage against poison enemies is really, really good. And then, of course, Scarlet Queen Halora, another game mode where you want that 20 to 24% all damage dealt. Very, very solid. And then after those top 4 there, we kind of move down this list and we go to the Osis style of combat, where you have like one strong hero, a bunch of carries, and you have an Osis cause type setup. Vulcan and Sword Flash Shia still do really good damage there. Asmodel does good as well. If you are doing an Osis setup, Lord of Death Azrael can be an awesome addition if you have his 4th branch sublimed, because he's going to be able to feed energy to your main damage dealer. Mockman, not that great in this game mode, and then everybody else, they're kind of just supports. If you want to run them, you can, but honestly, running carries in most situations will probably be better. Next up, we have my favorite game mode right now, and that is going to be Force War Lair. So this is the boss battles where you can pick the different buffs and debuffs and all that fun stuff. Star Swordsman Mockman, absolutely amazing in this game mode. He can kill off 3 of the 5 targets instantly in round 1. Very similarly, Vulcan can do very much the same thing, although it's usually more reliably 2 targets that he kills. He does have a chance to like CC the enemies, things like that, but round 1 damage is what this game mode's all about. You just got to kill him immediately and move on. And because you're going for the round 1 damage, again, Scarlet Queen Halora coming in third because that all damage buff is disgusting. Lord of Fear Aspen can be pretty cool if you're using his core in this game mode and you make sure he goes before your Mockman and or Vulcan. He can buff you guys a lot of attack. He also gives your team a lot of crowd control immunity, which is awesome. And of course, you have the usuals like Fairy Queen Vesta, very good support. Asmodel the Dauntless actually can do a lot of damage in this game mode as well, which is cool. And then beyond that, again, you get the typical ones that you see at the bottom of this list overall. The last one of these columns is going to be PvP, and this is where Star Alchemist Holmes Young actually gets a huge thumbs up here. His core, oh my god, his core in PvP is just absolutely broken. If you care about PvP, build a Star Alchemist Holmes Young, build his core, amazing. I don't think anybody would argue that he is like one of the best PvP heroes in the game, but overall, a lot of different game modes, not that useful. After that, we have Vulcan and Star Swordsman Mockman. Again, PvP meta right now is shifting away from crowd control and pushing their way into direct damage in the first 2 rounds. You guys have seen some fun videos I've done on my account with doing just this, which is awesome. And then Lord of Fear Aspen, it is the one type of CC that works because even with a basic attack, he can potentially fear the entire back line. Really good damage as well, especially if you have a giant killer copy. He can nuke down a single target and then do some AoE damage. Very good. And then Vesa, of course, very solid. She can't be crit. She provides shielding, healing, and most importantly, I think the biggest part of this is when an ally dies, she can silence gag order the entire enemy team, which I think is probably one of the best things about her. Which is why running a suicide hero with her, not the worst idea. Again, Scarlet Queen Halora, her ping damage can get absolutely disgusting when you're talking about like one of your heroes like a Vulcan or Star Swordsman Mockman that's pinging and they have a full household. They have all these buffs. They do a lot of damage. On top of that, that all damage dealt is really, really awesome. After that, we have the two heroes that are like the pure mid-tier supporters here. They give dodge, they give buffs, they give all different stuff like that. Lord of Death Azrael, actually not that bad, honestly, because he can revive. And again, he has really cool synergy with Fairy Queen Vesa up here, so that's really cool. Sadly, Jara, the CC meta, is really getting pushed out of the way, and same with Sword Flash. Very much pushed out of the meta. You're not going to see them around very often. Sword Flash usually wants a Drake, and you're really not running Drakes on your teams anymore because most of your damage is coming in the form of AoE. Now, last but not least, I want to show you guys the overall rankings column here. This is kind of like the overall usefulness of the heroes in this list, and we kind of talked about this. It kind of feels like the right type of lineup. Now, again, you don't need to have both Machman and Vulcan. It's an either or situation, but this kind of gives you a better way to say, okay, yeah, Machman is better in a lot of, like, he's like the #1 hero in a lot of game modes, but in reality, Vulcan's more useful in a lot of game modes. So is he going to do exactly as much damage as Machman potentially in like Campaign and Vortex? Not quite, almost, but he does have more uses in other situations. Lord of Fear Aspen, oh man, he's my favorite hero right now, one of the strongest ones. I mean, Vulcan is awesome too, yeah, but Lord of Fear Aspen, he's just so cool no matter what power level he is. No Tenant, Householder, whatever you want to say, Giant Killer, no Giant Killer, he's just so awesome. Vesa, Scarlet Queen, Halora, just because they're used in so many different game modes. Surprisingly, on the endgame tier list here, Holmes Young, if you have his core and you're using his core, is very valuable. Following it up with Jara because her insane CC. You have Mystic Fairy Freya here because of all of her poison synergies and stuff like that in a ton of boss game modes. Sword Flash, she is still not bad. She's still a solid damage dealer, but again, she fails in comparison of the top two up here, and even Lord of Fear Aspen. You do have Azumdale and Eos down here. They have some uses in certain game modes, but again, there's just always better options than Azumdale and Sundevar Eos. Not saying they're bad, there's just better options out there. Phantom Defier Elena, just because we really haven't had much time to test her out. Lord of Death Azrael, very niche uses, and then just the worst Transcendence hero ever made. So let me know what you guys think. Hopefully you guys can use this. Again, last reminder, this is the final end game tier list. It's like you have unlimited resources. These are how these heroes are going to perform. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time.